Ever since I moved into Maple Grove Estetisa neighborhood that sounded more like a peaceful retreat than a hotbed of drama, I had one simple ambition: to grow the biggest pumpkin the county fair had ever seen. I wasn't aiming to become a gardening icon or anything grand. I just wanted a wholesome project to fill my weekends. Little did I know that innocent hobby would turn me into a target. Across the street, behind a flawlessly manicured hedge and an ever-present scowl, lived Marjorie Hensley, VIC president of the HOA and self-proclaimed guardian of suburban perfection. She had an irrational hatred for anything that didn't fit her pristine, magazine-worthy VY shine of the neighborhood. No quirky yard ornaments, no cheerful wind chimes, and certainly no monstrously oversized produce, as she once described my prized pumpkin in an official HOA email. It started subtly, as these things often do. I'd find passive-aggressive notes tucked into my mailbox, cautioning me about excessive agricultural clutter. Then came the formal notice: an HOA violation citing an unauthorized horticultural exhibit exceeding 2.5 feet in diameter. I chuckled at first. Who takes a pumpkin that seriously? It's not a biohazard. But Marjorie didn't take kindly to being dismissed, especially since her own marigolds kept wilting, probably in rebellion, and she was on her fifth failed bid for Yard of the Month. Then she upped the ante. One Sunday at 7:45 a.m., she orchestrated a surprise HOA inspection, clearly timed to catch me off guard in my sweatpants and my pumpkin in its full, unapologetic splendor. She dragged along two board members who seemed more focused on their donuts than my garden. Still, Marjorie paraded around like she was leading a SWAT team, clipboard in hand, declaring, "This breaches Code 4.17b subsection green." Her lips puckered as if she'd bitten into a sour grape. I fired back, citing the exact HOA bylaws on garden decor, which, by the way, said zilch about vegetables. She didn't appreciate my laminated proof or my familiarity with the rules. From there, things got bizarre. My hose was inexplicably cut. My compost pile was tipped over. A lone marigold popped up in the center of my lawn, her signature, I figured. Each time I mentioned it, she brushed me off with a smug, "You're imagining things." Yet my pumpkin flourished, swelling into a glorious round titan that could have starred in a storybook. It became a local sensation. People snapped selfies with it, kids nicknamed it Pumpkazoid, and every compliment it earned made Marjorie twitch behind her curtains, likely scheming its demise with a bottle of weed killer and a grudge. So I fought back, not with confrontation but with vigilance. I set up a motion-activated scarecrow camera. It looked like a goofy Halloween prop, but it hid a 4K wide-angle lens and night VY shone. I didn't expect much from it, just a way to ease my nerves. I named him Stock and positioned him to guard the pumpkin like a silent sentinel. Meanwhile, Marjorie ramped up her campaign, whispering to neighbors that my pumpkin was luring raccoons, tanking property values, and me favorite, promoting horticultural rebellion. Someone even posted that gem on Nextdoor. I should have framed it. Her meltdown peaked when the local paper ran a Fall Harvest Heroes piece featuring me kneeling beside Pumpkazoid, grinning like a proud farmer, with Marjorie faintly VY Cybele in the background, mid-rake, scowling. It was perfect until my pumpkin started to droop. First, a slight yellowing at the stem, then mushy patches, and finally a sharp chemical stench that didn't belong in a garden. Something was off. I sliced off a sample and sent it to a buddy in agricultural science. 2 days later, the verdict: glyphosate poisoning, an herbicide ban near edible crops without notice. My stomach sank. Someone had sabotaged my pumpkin and I had a prime suspect. I reviewed Stock's footage, sifting through 4 nights of stillness until at 2:17 a.m. On Thursday, there she was, Marjorie, in a bathrobe, wielding a spray bottle and flashlight. She knelt, drenched Pumpkazoid's base, adjusted her curlers, and shuffled off like a cartoon crook. The EVY Denke was crystal clear: me pumpkin hadn't died. It was murdered. Armed with this, I stormed into the HOA meeting, held in the bland clubhouse with its folding chairs and weak coffee. Marjorie, perched at the head like a suburban overlord, was railing against tacky Halloween decor when I strode in, laptop in tow, and cut her off. "If you're done policing plastic ghosts, the board needs to see this," I said. She smirked, thinking I was bluffing, until I pressed play. There she was, caught in infrared, dousing my pumpkin like a bumbling bandit. The room fell silent, save for a gasp from Ted, the treasurer, who likely saw legal trouble brewing. Marjorie's defense was bold, That could be anyone, she sniffed, despite her monogram gardening gloves wavwaying on screen. It's a deep fake, she insisted, as if she knew what that meant. You think I'd sneak out at 2 a.m. in a robe to attack a vegetable? Yes, I replied flatly as nods rippled through the board. The president, a guy who'd rather be golfing than mediating, right to stay neutral. Let's not rush to judgment, he said, but Marjorie's guilt hung thick. She flipped, claiming my camera broke surveillance rules it didn't, and demanding I be fined for spying. It devolved into a ridiculous debate about scarecrow legality. She even called stock a militarized yard figure. When that flopped, she pivoted to tears, blaming stress, seasonal blues, and a bad shampoo reaction. One board member suggested she step back temporarily, and she lost it, slamming the table, spilling her pumpkin spice latte, and shouting, "This is a witch hunt." The irony wasn't lost on anyone. Neighbors muttered. Ted whispered to Greg, if she did that to a pumpkin, what's in the community compost? Then came the bombshell. Mrs. Ortiz, a quiet widow with ninja-like stealth, stood with her tablet. This isn't Marjorie's first midnight run, she said, showing bird cam footage of Marjorie snipping her rose bushes weeks earlier illegally. It unleashed a flood. Neighbors chimed in. Dead shrubs, missing solar lights, and signed fines. Marjorie's suburban tyranny unraveled like cheap twine. Someone dug up a next-door ranch she'd posted anonymously about rogue veggie fanatics threatening moral order. She wrote, it begins with pumpkins and ends with goats and chaos. Priceless. Cornered, Marjorie cried cyberbullying by plant radicals. No one bought it. Greg called a vote to suspend her powers. She stormed out before the unanimous tally. But she didn't quit. Flyers hit mailboxes claiming I'd doctored the video, painting her as a victim of a pro-veggie conspiracy. She posted online that I poisoned my own pumpkin to frame her. Messages poured in, half cheering me, half asking if I was secretly growing pot. It was madness. And I knew she wasn't done. Sure enough, Marjorie returned in concerned citizen mode, patrolling in giant sunglasses, scribbling nonsense on a clipboard. My trash can toppled on still days, weed killer edged my squash bed, and a property of HOA stake appeared in my yard, her new flag. I upgraded stock to 2.0, thermal imaging, two-way audio, phone alerts. I added a gnome cam nester for backup. Then I baited her with a fake pumpkin foam, painted, stuffed with dye and glitter to burst on contact. I dubbed it Glitter Bomb and spread word of a rare hybrid seed to lure her. She bit, issuing a fake newsletter about foreign plant invaders. I played along, fencing off the decoy with a do not touch, experimental psycatnip for her chaos streak. At 2:03 a.m. stock pinged. Thermal showed her creeping up. She prodded the fake pumpkin and bam, glitter erupted. She yelped, flailed into my bushes and fled, sparkling like a disco ball. Nestor caught it all. I posted it online. When you mess with a garden and end up fabulous. It blew up. Even Greg commented. Tintin glitter spread. Marjorie's counter? A cease and desist for malicious decor entrapment, laughed off by the HOA lawyer. She held a press conference yelling at cars, calling me a horticultural terrorist. The paper ran it as Scarecrow Camnab's glittery vandal. Tourists came to see the crime scene. She appealed her suspension, citing emotional harm from festive surveillance. Denied. Twice. Then the real fallout. Footage showed her cousin Carl, an overpaid HOA landscaper, lurking. Carl's budget got axed and whispers grew. Tips flooded my inbox, receipts, photos, a Marjoriegate PDF. I dug into a 2021 newsletter, Conformity is Charm, touting a lawn unity rule passed in an emergency vote, never recorded. My cousin, Tara, a forensic accountant, found duplicate charges, fake vendors, and a shell company, Verdant Peace LL, tied to Marjorie. She'd funneled fines through it, pocketing thousands while finding my unruly wheelbarrow. We took it to Greg. He aged VY Sibley, calling an emergency meeting tagged possible criminal acts. Marjorie arrived in pearls, all smiles, until Tara dropped a binder. Unless spreadsheets commit fraud, this is you, she said. Marjorie screamed gardening propaganda, but Greg handed her a revocation letter. She flipped, toppling scones, yelling, I built this place. Then tripped into a cider crock pot face first. Video hit the group chat. Marjorie's fall harvest. The audit deepened. Forged signatures from dead board members, buried records. Charges piled up: fraud, forgery, obstruction. Detectives swooped in. Her mug shot? Cider-soaked fury. Maple Grove bloomed post-Marjorie. Gnomes sprouted mooners, pirates, one labeled Marjorie Be Gone. Bylaws eased, veggie bans lifted. A fall Liberty Fest launched pumpkin catapults, pies, stockwa vying truth, justice, and gardens. Marjorie's lawn died, poisoned by her own chemicals. She sold her house and fled to a strict HOA enclave. New owners unearthed her buried purity plan, a dystopian plot for yard control. Charges grew. At trial, guilty verdicts landed her probation, restitution, and community garden duty planting pumpkins. The garden became Pumpkazoy Park. I got a patch watering can. Her legacy? Composted. We thrive, she's gone, and every fall our gourds remind us. Freedom grows where tyranny falls.